Hello everyone. Very warm welcome and a good afternoon to all of you. We welcome you to this webinar, Maximizing ROI with Microsoft Fabric. And we are still awaiting, we are past 1 minute. Maybe we can start in a minute or two. And meanwhile, we can let other people also join in. Neha, you're all set? Okay, good. Okay, so I believe let's start. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, I'm Abishek, and with me is Neha. We are having this webinar around cost-effective data solutions. A quick intro about us. I'm senior consultant data practice at Royal Cyber, and with us is Niha Sharma, who is a seasoned data and AI solution specialist, works with Microsoft clients, and of course specializes in public sector and healthcare domain. And from here, we can quickly move on to the agenda of the because it's a short webinar. We have tried to respect everyone's time here, so we'll just be very quick about it. So today we'll be covering quickly about Microsoft Fabric, a quick overview about it, a very short live demo of the user interface as well as the experience, of course, covering the key features and functionalities. One of the major benefits, how it deeply integrates with the existing Microsoft stack. And then we'll move on to the business applications and use cases of Fabric, like the real world examples or maybe the ROI case studies. And then one of the most commonly asked questions, like Power BI versus Microsoft Fabric, Databricks versus Microsoft Fabrics, what to choose, and so on and so forth. And then lastly, we'll also cover how we are assisting our clients if they need any help with their data transformation journey. So from here, I'll just pass on the baton to Neha, the speaker, our guest speaker from Microsoft Canada, who will be taking on from here. Over to you, Neha.
Thank you, Abhishek. Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to share some of my insights working in the data and AI space here today. We'll start by exploring a little bit of the current data landscape and really why we built Microsoft Fabric to give you a good understanding of its capabilities, and then we'll go into some of the other topics that were shared on the agenda. So what you're seeing in front of you is a typical data architecture, right, for modern data analytics as a platform. In this example, what you'll see here is, for example, a very fragmented hybrid cloud setup with Oracle on-premise, Amazon S3 buckets, and those are treated as the primary data sources, but you can actually move that around and substitute them out for anything that looks similar, like integrations with different cloud providers, third-party solutions. You've got a whole host of data sources that you can pull from. All data architectures today have a common framework, right? So ingestion, storage, processing, and then downstreaming to analytics. So Power BI or a reporting solution there. Each of these stages requires different services and solutions, right? It adds layers of complexity. And the reason that complexity exists is because it's fragmented, and each of those services have their own storage format, their own licensing model, their own costs associated with them. That leaves your data teams with a lot of integration work, right? So it's hard to find that commonality between the different formats and whether you can access those formats through specific networks and cloud providers. Really piecing it together is the challenge. As well as enforcing a common security model throughout your solution. So that's where we thought, well, let's take some feedback if we're getting the right kind of sentiment from our customers, and we hear this time and time again. So we got a lot of feedback from our enterprise clients, and really what we hear and see all the time is Microsoft, Amazon and Google, like, simplify, right? Like, I'm a chief data officer. I don't want to be a chief integration officer. That is the challenge. It takes 90% of your day-to-day work. Data professionals are really struggling with that, right? So that's the main point for every enterprise. We want to give you some time back. We want things to be simplified and easier. Well, how do we do that? Well, the Microsoft Fabric, inception is really from the power of Fabric, or any Microsoft solution really stems from our ability to do that integration on your behalf and to do it really, really well. So this is why we released Fabric, and so that's the solution that we're introducing, and it's a unified end-to-end analytics platform that really simplifies your analytics journey by integrating those various component data journey into one cohesive platform. So Fabric allows you to have that unified experience for different type of data workloads. If you're a data professional, let's say doing integration, right? Maybe there's an engineer that's processing some of that, cleaning that data. Then you've got that stage around machine learning. Maybe you're exploring AI. All of those components are now being married into this one solution, hopefully a unified platform that can enable you to start innovating and sort of have this open standards approach. So that's really the bedrock of how we started and why we built the solution. Fabric is the bridge that connects that data movement, engineering, science, insights, all in one place. So we'll talk to you a little bit about that today. It combines the best of Microsoft Power BI, Synapse Analytics, you see that on the screen, Data Factory. All these solutions existed before, and these were some of the best solutions. You know, if you look at some of the magic quadrants and analytics out there, we were already doing a really great job in all of these different areas. What we've done is really brought it under a single house, right? So that you can look at everything under a single pane of glass and really see that integration at play, so that you don't have to create staging areas, right? You don't have to build that integration, additional ETLs to get to one stage to another in that data journey. So really here to empower data professionals to unlock those potential insights. And how we go about this is these 7 core workloads, right? So Data Factory, that provides more than 150 connectors today to cloud and on-premises data sources, drag and drop experiences for data transformation, right? You've got the ability to orchestrate those data pipelines. Then we've got data engineering. So this is where it enables you to have a great authoring experiences for Spark, right? You can use live pools, you have the ability to collaborate. Let's say you've got a Transact SQL developer, maybe you've got a Spark Python developer. You can collaborate in the same notebook with all of those different solutions in the past that you might have to separate and then share later, right? Data science, so that provides end-to-end workflow for data scientists for building AI models. Maybe you're training, deploying, managing those machine learning models as well. That's what that allows you to do. We do have a data warehouse. A lot of customers think that because of that lakehouse concept that we're moving towards, we don't have a data warehouse. That's actually not the case. If you're working with SQL currently, for example, you've got a data warehouse in Fabric as well, so you can converge that lakehouse data warehouse experience. And we've got, you know, industry-leading SQL performance on some of those open data formats. Power BI. So this is one that I know a lot of customers either use or have been exposed to in the past couple of years. This is built into Fabric. You no longer need to purchase Power BI outside your data platform, your enterprise data warehouse, Power BI, analytics. It's all under a single stack. And this is where you can get that visualization layer in, right? You've got straight from ingestion, transformation, delivering insights. And the beauty in having this integration really is that we also have deep integrations with Microsoft 365, right? We have integrations with Dynamics 365. So if you're ready to publish a report and you want to share it with someone on Teams, that's what having Power BI built into Fabric allows you to do. So 2 other workloads I want to touch upon briefly before we move on. Real-time analytics and data activator. These are fairly interesting workloads that we've introduced. They've recently been upgraded and they're being combined into sort of this offering that sort of goes hand to hand. So I'll tell you a little bit about that. So with real-time analytics, you can ingest streaming data with high, granularity, dynamically streaming data, query data in real time for instant insights. And then with Data Activator, what you can do is really monitor some of those data points and have it trigger actions, alerting, for example, if you're in a manufacturing plant and you've got a boiler room temperature that can't rise above a specific temperature. Well, you can monitor that in real time. Data Activator set an alert and maybe send an email or a notification to somebody who is on the safety team that needs to be notified so they can take action. So really enabling you to get to that next step, to that action, from the data that's being presented is sort of what the Data Activator feature allows you to do. Now, Fabric is built on what we call One Lake, so we'll dive a little bit deeper into what that means, but essentially think about PowerPoint, right? Before we came out with OneDrive, you had a copy of your PowerPoint data, you shared it with a friend, they now had to make those edits, maybe you shared it with a colleague. That version of data that they were working on or the PowerPoint file was different than yours, and so you never had at any point in time a singular copy or a real-time copy with both of you making changes live. Now with OneDrive, you can go ahead, share a link, boom, you're both working on the same thing and your edits are being tracked. That's really the beauty of having something like OneLake. So OneLake is that. It's the OneDrive for your data. You can track the changes, the updates that's being made, data lineage. All of that stuff is now starting to make sense, because if you think about enabling that broader security model, right, of that governance model across your data state, well, you need something that's a little bit more unified, a little bit more sort of, across platform, has your data always up to date, single source of truth. So that's what we're trying to achieve with OneLake there. So we've got a couple things that are unified because of this model now. So OneLake includes everything, every Fabric item, every report. It includes all of your data in one place, whether that's raw, whether that's refined, whether it's a report, whether it sits, with real time, or if it's a machine learning model. It has everything. I'll talk to you a little bit about how to best organize this, but what it allows us to achieve is, within the SaaS product experience, is security and governance also becoming unified. You've got one security model, and then we've also decoupled compute and storage because of this. So all of those engines that you see at the very top, those 7 core engines, that is where you're going to be leveraging your compute resources, and storage is now going to sit in OneLake, which is decoupled from what your compute is. That's really revolutionary, because in the past, let's say you provision something, where it's a virtual machine or storage is sort of attached. So the sizing that you would need to go with, if you had a bigger storage file, you'd actually need to go and provision more compute for it as well. In this case, not the case. So you can actually decouple compute and storage, and so you're paying for it separately, and that makes it a lot easier to manage. Now I'm going to pause there. I want to show you a quick video, Sizzler video, if you will, on Microsoft Fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and play, and hope you enjoy it.
Microsoft Fabric is redesigning how we work with data by bringing all your data and analytics tools into a single experience. With Fabric's Data Lake, OneLake, your teams can connect to data from anywhere and all work from the same copy across engines. Your data professionals have all the tools they need, all in one SaaS experience, to reduce the cost and effort of integration. Features like Direct Lake Mode in PowerBI, which provides a blazing fast, real-time connection to your data, can save you time and cost while providing up-to-date insights. This intelligence can then securely flow to the Microsoft 365 applications people use every day to improve decision-making and drive impact. All backed by Fabric's tight integration with Microsoft Purview to govern and protect your data, no matter where it's used. AI-powered features like Copilot help everyone be more productive, whether it's creating data flows and pipelines, writing SQL statements, or building reports. And as we enter a future built on AI, you can unify, prepare, and model your data to support truly game-changing AI projects. All your data, all your teams, all in one place. This is Microsoft Fabric. Microsoft Fabric.
Awesome. So we believe Fabric is unique in 4 ways. You saw a lot of that and hopefully got you excited from the video, but really it's a complete analytics platform, and it's something I've been repeating constantly from the beginning, but combines all of your critical workloads, right? So data integration, engineering, the warehouse piece, real-time analytics, and then the reporting aspect as well. So you actually don't need to go anywhere else and piecemeal, all of those different components together for your current data architecture. You can actually get one platform and it solves everything. And the reason we're able to do this is it's a single lake-centric SaaS solution, right? So it's not a PaaS offering. You don't have to provision anything in Azure. You don't have to provision anything in the cloud. vCores, all of that stuff, monitor your performance queries, right? Don't have to do any of this. It's a SaaS offering. It's all built in. You have a capacity that's set aside for you, and that enables you to do everything that the platform offers. It also removes some of that integration tax that you might experience with a solution that makes it easy to connect and then use those analytics tools across your different teams. And then, of course, Fabric is lake-centric. We have a very open concept at every level. OneLake is a really big part of it. It's an open approach that eliminates data silos and duplications. We're ensuring that you've got one copy of your data. That's really where it starts. And then we start to connect the dots with, if you have an existing data lake or a data file or something on premise, for example, without duplicating it, you can actually mount it, bring it into one lake. And then for proprietary databases, data warehouses, we can actually mount them in as well. So we've got some features to allow you to do that. This means that it can connect to existing databases and warehouses across multiple clouds, as well as on premises. And that makes data available in Fabric near real time without having to build out those complex ETLs, because we've done the work for you. We built a connector, right? We built those integrations. The beauty in a solution like this for Power BI users, right? Like we say, empower every business user, is really leveraging our learnings from the Power BI user experience. And it's helped us to simplify what that experience could look like for all data professionals and all types of users. So data engineers, right, scientists, business analysts, doesn't matter what your role entails. Really, we focused on governing and leveraging data and really like low-code solutions to building out some of those ETLs and making sure a lot of this stuff is automated as you go. Fabric allows you to have that same sort of SaaS model that you might have experienced, the same UI experience that you can expect with Power BI within Fabric. So it's very much the same and very familiar. Finally, it is built to help you become AI ready. It enables AI-driven insights from your data. We add semantic classifications. It makes your data discoverable. We have usable applications that you can connect to. Think about building applications like ChatGPT on your data, right? So if you want your data to be discoverable, you want to query your data, very, very easy now with Fabric. In fact, we have built-in solutions to allow you to do that. We actually have AI packages, for example, that allow you to go and interact with your data, so you don't have to actually build that from scratch. We also enable you to build your own copilots, right, in business applications. So connections all across the board, whether you're using Azure AI Studio, whether you're using Copilot Studio. And the beauty is really that it brings that Copilot experience and assistance for every data professional inside the platform itself. So drastically improving productivity. It is your Copilot, so it's going to help with every day-to-day task that you can imagine across different data professionals, really making it easier to leverage all of the platform's capabilities. And if you're not sure how to do something, you can actually go and ask Copilot, and it can help you build that ETL or build that data factory pipeline, or go ahead and change some code, for example, from Python to R. All those capabilities Copilot is able to do. I've actually seen some real life scenarios working with customers where that's the case. Now I'm going to show you a quick video on that note on Copilot as a demo, so you can kind of see and experience how easy it makes your job and your life as a data professional. I think this audio is actually not tracking through, so let me change this quickly and share.
Next generation AI in Microsoft Fabric empowers you to unlock the
Neha, we just lost the audio.
Sorry, is the audio not coming through?
Not for me, at least.
Okay, I'll try playing again.
next generation AI in Microsoft Fabric empowers you to unlock the full potential of your data. With Copilot integrated into every data experience, Microsoft Fabric lets you use natural language to bring your data to life. From integrating data to writing code, to finding insights and creating reports, new transformative AI experiences work alongside you every step of the way, so you can stay focused on getting value from your data. Copilot helps turn your words into data flows and data pipelines, so you can intelligently integrate data from anywhere. When writing code, Copilot automatically suggests code and entire functions in real time, and Copilot can guide you to create machine learning models to unlock insights in your data. Just by chatting with Copilot, you can visually explore your data to create stunning reports, discover insights, and summarize your data into easy-to-understand text narratives for sharing. With Copilot, you can turn insight into action with triggers that monitor your data and notify users. You can even create your own custom natural language experiences that combine Azure OpenAI models and your organization's data, and easily publish your creations as plugins. And with your data in Fabric, Copilot provides insights and answers everywhere work gets done. Most importantly, Microsoft Cloud runs on trust, which means your data always remains your data. Bring your data into the era of AI with Microsoft Fabric.
Great work, name that. Just in fact, I would also request you to please share the other video because that's I think a minute of that, but that is specifically one of the data engineers has curated himself. Well, this was a compilation of all Fabric features, but I would want the audience to have a quick look at how a Power BI could be Copilot could be leveraged on Power BI. So what you see is a real-time Copilot demonstration. You just have conversational prompts here, like help me create a report that summarizes the sales information. I want you to include, city level sales map, employee level top sales, trend of profits, and overall questionnaire. Of course, you can play around just like a chat GPT otherwise, and within a minute or two, in a jiffy, it automatically creates a beautiful, nice dashboard for you, which would erstwhile take you hours and maybe sometimes even days to curate it depending on the complexity. Now the best part is you can further tweak down, just like conversational chat with a chat GPT. You can have uh, for example, further filtration, slice and dice. You just chat with it and it would create it show a bar chart to show the average sales made by the employees for top 10 city. So you see it added additional snippet and you can just attach it to the dashboard, and then again you can play with the insights, you can drive. So assume it's your personal assistant, like even the top business leaders, not specifically the data leaders but the overall functional business leaders, now really do not have to rely upon impending reports from their team members. They can simply hop onto Copilot, start playing around with this, and they have all the data and representation in front of them. So that essentially has been my personal favorite, at least. But yeah, I'm sure most of you would also like it. Over to you, Neha. Just couldn't hold my excitement sharing this Copilot specifically.
Course. No, sounds good. Thank you for that. So I wanted to walk you through with all the excitement around Copilot, really taking us back to the grounding of Fabric, which is around OneLake, right? So how do you make sure that when you're building a lake house, especially if you're leveraging OneLake, that you don't create a swamp, right? You want to make sure it's organized. It is a lake at the end of the day, not a swamp, right? So you don't want to overwhelm it. And there is a feature that we allow that lets you do this. So different business groups across the organization can now actually work independently, same lake, with the overhead of managing, the same different storage resources under one capacity. Now, the way we allow it is with a data mesh pattern architecture, and that's enabled through domains. So that's the very first concept that you need to understand. So a single business domain may have multiple workspaces, right? So workspaces tend to align to specific projects or teams. And a domain is really a logical way of organizing or grouping this together so that all of your data across the organization that's relevant in an area or a field resides together. So it's helping you define those boundaries or those domains of how to keep that data organized. We also have, for example, associated workspaces with a specific domain or a specific user experience that you're looking at. We also have federated governance, right? That's what it allows you to do. So if you have data in OneLake and it's sitting at the file security levels that you've set, the security protocols, that's the type of granular control that we allow for. And so that will be true for anywhere that file moves. So if a user doesn't have access and you've applied those protocols on that specific file, that will remain true no matter what happens to that file or if a user tries to access. So technically, everyone can't access everything. We do honor those security protocols. It's all in place. We just want to avoid that data swamp, right, analogy as you think about OneLake and it becoming that single source of truth for the entire organization. Now let's move a little bit onto pricing. Again, I mentioned to you compute and storage are decoupled. So what does that mean? Well, rather than provisioning, separate compute for different workloads, you actually have the ability to. I'm actually going to go back here. So instead of provisioning separate compute for each workload, with Fabric, you've got billing in two variables, you've got compute your provision to leverage all of those services, and then you've got an amount of storage that you use as well. So storage isn't as complicated as it sounds. I know a lot of customers come back to me and say, hey, how much is the storage going to cost? It's about $35 for every terabyte. And then what we also say in terms of compute and just optimizing that a little bit for your capacity. For comparison, if you're looking at Power BI P1, that's an equivalent to F64 SKU in Fabric. So when you're looking at pay-as-you-go or reservations, I would definitely say reserve it. With Power BI, you also had an agreement where you had 1 year term or an X amount of term where you would be with Power BI, and it would essentially give you a cost of 5K or 5.6K per month, depending on where you are. With Fabric, we've got the same equivalent. And so that's an F64 SKU, same capacity, same amount of vCores that you have access to, and you can reserve that and save about 41% of your cost there in comparison to pay-as-you-go. Now let's take a look at some real-world examples of how Fabric is making a difference and really helping customers get the most of their data platform. You'll see a common theme across all of these that I share. For Zeiss Group, a pioneer in optical solutions, they're adopting Microsoft Fabric on Azure. They have several key business benefits they've experienced. The first is through integrating all of their data sources seamlessly. They've eliminated data silos. They're running and ensuring that they have a single source of truth. Again, that helps to ensure that you have a single security model across your data estate. And that integration being approved, that efficiency that they're seeing is now streamlining those data workflows, right? So reducing the need for additional infrastructure, it's saving time, it's saving resources, and they're seeing a faster data processing as well as AI innovation. So the quote here, for example, they knew that with mountains of disparate data, they could put that to better use. So really, it's allowed them to go a little bit deeper and make sure that only the data that's relevant, especially ones that will drive their AI initiatives forward, is what they've got, in that platform, and they've actually set that aside for faster processing, for analysis. So it's driving a lot of that forward. And then you'll see a similar example, for example, with One New Zealand. This is a telecommunications company. And by leveraging Power BI, it's transformed its data analytics capabilities. They're leveraging the real-time analytics insights as well, and they've built that into their operations. That's leading to improved decision-making, right? Operational efficiency. It's enabled them to have significant cost savings, optimizing on resource allocation again, reducing that manual effort. And so having that visibility has improved it's created new revenue opportunities for them and improved customer satisfaction overall. So highly competitive now in that telecommunication market. They were able to make sense of all of that data that they have. And lastly, Milliman. So this is a global leader in actuarial and consulting services. And they've done something similar. Again, you'll see a common theme emerge, right? So enhanced data management by integrating those disparate sources. They now have a comprehensive suite of all of the services because of Microsoft Fabric. And so they're reducing those costs by optimizing that data process and storage, reducing operational costs, and that's provided better insights. One thing I'll point out just from my personal experience as well as we look at some of these scenarios, I work closely with healthcare, so I see that hospitals are also constantly turning to Fabric to help integrate their systems. They've got things on premise. If you know anything about healthcare, it's a very, very tough industry with a lot of data residing in proprietary solutions, right? Like you've got Meditech and the Epics of the world. So it's harder there with some API connections and to get that data, to export it, make use of it. They also have a lot of data that's unstructured. It's about 90%. I know in traditional industries, maybe about 70, 80%, they've got 90 to 97% of their data is unstructured. So how do you make sense of all of that? Well, you need a platform that's going to be able to leverage AI to make sense of it. Cognitive services, all of those components built in. That starts with building a unified data platform here and then building on those capabilities. So one example is there was a challenge with hospitals they're constantly trying to address is optimizing the length of stay for patients, right? They want to make sure that patients aren't staying too long, not beyond what they're required. That also has an impact on the patient's health. So you want to make sure that there's some turnover, there's additional beds available, which then helps other patients. So by doing so, they can better manage that bed availability, increase their profitability, and improve patient care. I've seen that in a short term. And so it's a real game changer to use something that's an integrated solution, having those real-time capabilities, and then improving based on predictive insights. I'm going to turn it over to the crowd just before I move forward with this. Is there any questions that we have in the chat before we move on to a Databricks and Fabric comparison?
I think we can wait for a minute here. Audience, please feel free to drop in your queries or anything you want to ask from Neha. I'll keep tracking it. Okay, so I think we got our first question here from Jason. He's asking, we've already. Okay, so Neha, he's asking, we have already made investments into our data for this years, but how can we still use Fabric? How can we still bring into action?
Okay, amazing, great question. So a lot of customers what we're seeing is you already have those investments made, right? Whether it be on-premises solutions and that's where your data resides, or maybe it's in Snowflake or a different solution that you're currently leveraging that's perhaps doing the job of a data warehouse. Now, ideally what you want to do is I mentioned 3 capabilities in Fabric. One is we've got built-in connectors to allow you to have that integration piece. You don't have to migrate all your data over. What we're saying is connect it directly in, port it over, if it's a raw layer, if it's a little bit more refined, bring it straight in and publish into Power BI. You also can do that through mirroring and shortcuts. So we have different connectors available, different options for you to essentially mount that data, not to replicate, not to duplicate it, but essentially have Fabric be an extension of your data state. So we don't want you to migrate everything over. We actually want to extend those capabilities and make sure you have some cloud capabilities at your doorstep.
Great. I think there's a similar follow-up question. Do we need to migrate or create Lakehouse? I think you kind of already answered it, but maybe, yeah. So yeah, I think our audience got the answer here. We really don't need to migrate or completely lift or shift. Then we go with Lisa's question. We do not have data. Okay, so she asked, we do not have data teams, scientists, or maybe ML engineers in-house, but how can we still deploy Fabric?
That's a great question. So I will say we have a lot of great partners, right? Like Royal Cyber, we work very, very closely with. What they offer is that kind of expertise that you're looking for. So a workshop session or a envisioning session, for example, with any change, any transformation, you do need to consider that people, process, technology, how it all kind of comes together. Do you need the right people? Do their roles change? The technology aspect is what Microsoft's offering you, and then the process that might also need to change. So with that broader picture, that strategy, our partners like Royal Cyber can definitely help you with that.
Great, thank you. Just adding here, in fact, we are hosting a complete one-day workshop for all of our, and that's open for everyone. That's analyst in a day. And then next month we are hosting Fabric analyst in a day. So these are like pretty much Microsoft sponsored events. So please feel free to make best use of it. And then we have another question, and then we can quickly move on forward, Neha. So Arjun asks here, we got all sources of data, structured as well as unstructured. How does it coexist in one realm? Like, I think this is simple. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, So similar to what you might do in Databricks, with us, we've got something called a medallion framework, right? So medallion architecture is what you'd use to store some of that data in one lake. And the way we approach it is you've got 3 layers that you want it to go through. So you've got the bronze, silver, gold, a little bit of Olympics going on with the data state there. But bronze is your absolute raw layer. That's the data you bring in. You want to do the engineering and the integration work in-house in the one lake. Silver is a little bit more refined. That's where you get some of the quality data out there. Maybe you've done some of those joint tables, right? You've gotten some of those insights. Maybe you needed to integrate some tables together. Totally fine. That's where the silver layer lives. And there's a purpose behind each of these, why you might need that at each stage. And then you have the gold layer. That's insights ready. So this is very refined. I could pull this into a dashboard right now and see those insights if I were to run Copilot on it. That's the kind of data, for example, that you might want to run Copilot on and build those Power BI reports.
Great. I think then we can move on forward. Thanks for taking the questions, Neha.
Of course. So I do wanna hit upon ROI, right? With something like this, if you invest in a data solution, a data platform that's unified, what does that mean for you? Well, we've had several customers now that have been on this platform for more than 2 years, right? So some of those early adopters, and what we've seen with Forrester's report that's been released recently with the total economic impact study is that customers are experiencing a 300-400% ROI over 3 years by implementing this solution. And this comes again from several things that I kind of mentioned before. I've had calls with customers where they're like, hey, we're still dealing with data silos. We're still working on integration and how we make that simpler. Well, you really can achieve it if it's all going to stay on-prem. You've got to start having this hybrid mentality. And so this comes with consolidating technologies. You've got to increase data engineering productivity, right? And some of these stats that you see here, that's what Fabric allows you to do, and that's where it's coming from, right? You have a 400% return on investment. I want to paint a scenario for you that was in the report with the organizations that they met with. Roughly, a global organization that they spoke with had about $5 billion in annual revenue, 10,000 employees, 40 data engineers, 400 business analysts. So it's quite a large organization, and that's why you're seeing such large ROI benefits. But for you, it can give you that kind of impact of as you grow as an organization, what does that mean, right? So when you deploy Fabric, you've got net present value benefit of 12 million out the gate. And so payback period on the solution itself is 6 months. It doesn't take anything more than 6 months to start realizing value from this once you've done the implementation. And so where is this improvement coming from over the 3 years? Well, improved, business analyst access, output, those refined engineering productivity I mentioned, the results to insights, that is super, super quick. That's about 3 million is what this particular organization experienced, or organizations of this size. Increased data engineering productivity I mentioned, and then eliminating that infrastructure cost, right? Hey, we got to spin up VMs, we need to assign vCores virtual compute, for example, to this, and then we got to go and pay for that PaaS offering or that PaaS service. Well, it's all gone. It's one offering, one solution, one capacity, and we've really done all of the backbone work to help integrate and do all of that together. Awesome. So I want to touch upon one last thing here before we leave, but it's the difference between Databricks and Fabric. I get this a lot. They're both powerful data platforms, and we definitely find that it works better together for larger organizations. Understand that's not the case for everyone, right? So you want to make sure you hit upon the right platform for your solutioning in your organization. Well, there's a couple things to keep in mind. So I've done a bit of a comparison chart here. There are maybe 4 main themes that you want to look out for. So one is really the deployment model. It's different, it varies, right? Fabric is a SaaS solution. It's a SaaS offering like Power BI. With Databricks, you have a PaaS solution. So it's platform as a service, and that gives you a little bit more control over the infrastructure, but you will need to go ahead and provision VMs. You do need to assign capacity. You do need to understand how much compute and storage you need, for example, for a particular query or a particular project. That's the distinguished difference there. With Fabric, you don't need to do that. You have a capacity pool. you can simply go and leverage the services. If there's a moment in time, let's say a month, that you don't use your full capacity, that is then taken over to the next month. So it's actually shared and pulled over. We call that sort of spillover capacity. And so you actually do have a lot more access over the course of the year than what you would think. There's also an ease of use, right? So it's very simple, easy to use and manage. We do have low-code solutions to building those ETL or ELT pipelines, pre-built data connectors, as I mentioned. With Databricks, a little bit different. Powerful tool for data, big data and analytics. It's a comprehensive tool set for data science. You do need to have the knowledge and the breadth of working with sort of how do you build those ETLs? How do you go and stage some of this data? There are no predefined connectors, right? So that piece there, you're going to have to actually work and build custom solutions. It doesn't have any native integrations. There's also cost efficiency, right? It's very cost friendly with Fabric. It's cost effective. We're not compromising on computational power for cost. We're giving you this capacity from the get-go to start out with, and then you have, with Databricks, fine-grained control over the infrastructure, which gives you more control over the queries, for example, that might be using the performance capacities that you have outlined. So it's beneficial for very specific use cases. It's up to you to kind of determine how you go about it. And then the last piece here is data integration. So Fabric is a platform that seamlessly integrates across everything Microsoft, right? So if you've got Power BI, you've got Teams, you're leveraging, maybe Dynamics 365, we have connectors that build into everything. So if you're ready to share a report, you sort of saw that on the slide before, or PowerPoint, simply tell it, and it will create that report for you in a PowerPoint presentation, or it will publish that dashboard in Teams for collaboration or to view. So the ease of access and that seamless integration of how you interact with some of this dashboard, the reports, the insights, is very, very different. With Databricks, of course, no native integrations, right? Requires those additional connectors, custom solutions. It excels in customized workspaces and optimized Spark performance, and that's really where the focus is. So remember, this is a solution that optimizes for ease of use with Fabric, right? Cost efficiency, and we've done all of that integration work for you. Awesome. Thank you. I'll hand it back to Abishek now to talk a little bit about, if you're ready to go on this journey, how can you get started?
Yeah, thanks, Neha. So I hope everyone enjoyed what Neha has detailed about Fabric. And now, if in case you have any follow-up questions, or maybe if you want to evaluate how Microsoft Fabric can help at your organization, we do have can we move on to the next slide, please? Yeah, thank you. So Royal Cyber actually is a solution partner designation holder from Microsoft. We are officially, have expert certifications and trained resources in data and AI competencies, and that's where we offer readiness assessment and jumpstart packages. So depending on the scope, depending on the depth of help you need from us, we have various jumpstart packages here. And even before going there, there is a readiness assessment, which our data subject matter experts or data scientists would happy to help you understand and maybe give a very early level guidance or maybe assistance, if you are stuck somewhere in your data journey. So I won't take much time here. I would want everyone of you to absorb what Neha has taken us through, the benefits, and how we can really have Fabric as a simple and cost-effective, ROI-driven data solution for you. And with this note, I would end my presentation here. And please feel free to drop any follow-up queries, because you would be receiving a recording of this session as well as some survey questions, or we'd really appreciate if you could fill that as for that's really helpful for us. So and thank you so much, Neha, for being being here with us today. Your insights were really helpful, and we really hope the audience enjoyed it. Thank you once again, and thank you, audience, for being here and being with us for today.
Thanks for your time, guys. Take care.
Guys, have a great day. All right, goodbye.